Hello, I'm Milo Hutton and I'm a performing arts sophomore from Paris, France. It's premier events like this as well as unmatched training from industry professionals who happen to be our faculty that drew me to SCAD in the first place. When your first on-camera role is on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you know you're destined for television greatness. In 2016, with the premiere of This Is Us, that destiny was fulfilled. This Is Us is beyond an examination of family. It is family. It's the peaks and valleys of love and loss, the DNA of the most important relationships in our lives. Milo Ventimiglia stands as America's dad, as our lesson holder, and as an example of a true-to-life hero in spite of honest flaws. Throughout his notable work on television and film, from instigating Rocky Balboa's most inspiring speech, to introducing rebellion to Rory Gilmore, to saving the world as a superhero, to raising the Pearson family, Ventimiglia describes himself as a blank slate, always ready to lend himself to the stories that call his name. The commitment with which he works extends from his character to his fellow cast members and crew around him. The partnership forged between Ventimiglia and Mandy Moore is collaboration and respect at its finest, and today, the two are lifelong neighbors on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The entire This Is Us cast's love and admiration for each other transcend on the screen at every emotional turn, and with its final season underway, it's time for all of us to say farewell to the series that helped define modern television. For Ventimiglia, the ending of this chapter opens up to another reunion with Gilmore Girls creator Amy Sherman Palladino on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel for its much-anticipated fourth season. As Sherman Palladino said, "He just makes the world better. He just makes the business better." All of us in the audience couldn't agree more. Let's take a look.
What about this gray one?
It's light gray. Can't wear a gray suit. It has to be black.
Well, maybe we can get a deal at Gimbel's. Suits are just so expensive.
Doesn't matter what it costs. It's my mother's funeral. It's got to be black.
Of course.
I feel like the phone's gonna ring on Sunday. She'll ask about the kids. After a few minutes of catching up, she'll say what she always says.
Don't let me keep you.
Doesn't seem real.
You're gonna want this for your Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony, trust me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Virtuoso Award honoree Milo Ventimiglia. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Milo. I'm happy to know another Milo. We welcome you in the business. Just wanted to first thank SCAD for this and Paula Wallace for this honor. I'm typically not one for honors, more of a put my head down and kind of do the work kind of guy, but I truly hope that that this just serves as an inspiration to the next generation of artists that are out there that will go do great work and carry the torch that some of us have been carrying for a little while and that we took from others. So I want to say thank you very much to the students of SCAD, to all of SCAD, Paula Wallace, and everyone over there. I'm deeply honored. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to SCAD TVfest. For 10 years, SCAD TVfest has brought the best of television and the artists behind it to an international audience of students, fans, and aficionados. We're so glad to have you join us here today. My name is Patrick Gomez from Entertainment Weekly, and now the festival welcomes Milo Ventimiglia, the recipient of the Virtuoso Award. Thank you so much for joining us, Milo. It's such a pleasure to get to talk to you and get to see you receive this award.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me, Patrick. Happy to be here.
Yeah. Yes. You know, obviously you've had decades in this business, but to be called a virtuoso, like, what does that make you? What does that make you think or feel? Like, is it something you truly take in, or is it something you try to ignore?
It makes me uncomfortable. It honestly, it makes me uncomfortable. You know, like I feel like I'm just a working guy. I'm just a guy who shows up on set. I do the work. I've got a pretty big, wild imagination. I look at my script. I look my castmates in the eye. I support my crew, make sure everybody's fed, and just show up and do the work. So tacking Virtuoso or anything associated, or even, awards and statues to my name or performance kind of makes me a little uncomfortable. But at the same time, you're right. I have been here for decades. It's been a long time wearing makeup and reading lines that a lot of wonderful writers have written. So my goal is always to pass that inspiration on to younger artists, students of any trade, any craft, anyone who is coming up in Hollywood or who has been here for a long time that I would even consider a peer. What I try and do is just do the work, and hopefully the work speaks for itself and inspires other people to go out and do what they want in the creative field.
I mean, what's great is that all the things you said, it was about showing up, doing your best, and trying to make the world, or at least the workplace, better for those around you, which is something that is truly transferable to any workplace. And that's a beautiful thing, and not something that everyone does. So on behalf of everyone that's ever been in your presence, thank you for that. This Is Us obviously has, it struck a chord with so many people, and that's why it's been such a hit and so beloved for so many seasons. And we now are heading into the final stretch of episodes. I would assume it's every actor's dream to have a project like this that is so rich and fulfilling, and also fulfilling to the audience that's watching it, and that you're able to do this for years upon years. But when you're entering these projects, I'm sure you had many others that you were excited about that didn't get the same reception, or didn't even get to an audience to get to see it. How do you manage that as an actor, of kind of just focusing on the work and not letting that get to you? Or I'm sure occasionally it does.
When you're a younger actor, you think about awards. You think about your face on a movie screen. You think about your face in thousands and millions of homes, people watching your work. And then you get a job, literally a job reading lines, and like I said, wearing makeup, and you're showing up and you're playing maybe a part that isn't quite what you dreamt of, but it's a job, and you get to pay your bills, and you get to maybe take a vacation or do something good for your parents or your family. And then those jobs start to stack up, and you realize that the work that's coming in is actually more in tune, more in line with what you want to be doing, the kinds of roles you want to be playing, good or bad. Good character, bad character, good guy, bad guy, and antagonist, protagonist. You're kind of seeing these characters that are coming in, and slowly what happens, your creative vision starts to evolve, and you get out of the dream state of dreaming about your career. And then you get beyond just having a job. And then you get into a place where you understand that what you're going to do is going to have an impact on someone's viewing of your work, negatively or positively. And you start to understand that the work that you're doing as an actor, with a group of actors, with a group of writers and production crew and all of that, is going to be impactful, and it's going to mean something to someone. And you have to understand that you can help someone to have a good day or a bad day. And it puts an importance on the work. And I think it's something that's kind of magical. And when you, or at least when I've been able to recognize where I started, where I began, where I was in the middle, and here I am 26 years in front of the camera, feeling like I just stepped foot off of the starting line of a marathon, I realized that I've been a part of a lot of good things that have made a difference to people's individual lives or collective lives, but I'm not done yet. I'm just kind of starting. So I think when you're looking at the jobs where you're just having a job and you got to pay your bills versus some pretty significant roles, it all folds together again into this Frankenstein of a career that has its ups, has its downs, but at the end of the day, it's a really great place to be, and I'm really grateful.
Diving into Jack and what you've brought to him, the scripts of This Is Us are so rich, and I'm sure provide a lot. But when you were first taking on this project, what did you latch onto with Jack? Was there a particular line? Was there a particular wardrobe choice? Was there a particular moment in interacting with Mandy that made you lock in and say, this is who this guy is, and this is what I'm going to come to, whether I'm playing Jack at 20 or playing Jack in his 30s? Because there's so much time jumping. I'm sure there has to be these touchstones to you that say, it doesn't matter what his age is, this is Jack.
Fundamentally, I loved that he had a golden heart. He was a guy who, in the beginning, we didn't see any of the mess that he grew up with or that he was involved in when he was younger. We just saw a guy and his pregnant wife, excited for his babies and making sure that they were going to bring 3 babies home from the hospital. It was that golden heart that I think carried me through his darker times. When he was battling alcoholism, when he was struggling with his brother in war, when he was having a hard time in his marriage. I used to have this photo in my trailer of myself and my dad when I was a little boy. And taped above it, I had a sign that said, be a good father, be a good husband. 2 simple things. So if I were to have a hard time connecting to the words, which didn't happen at all on the show because we've got wonderful writers and they churn out wonderful scripts, or if I was having a hard time connecting to a scene, which never happened because Mandy Moore has been there with me, completely present in every way, I could always go back to my trailer, to that photo of my dad and I, and that little note that I wrote saying, be a good father, be a good husband. And that would be my touchstone.
It's beautiful. Talk to me about working with Mandy and getting to do that over 6 seasons, how that relationship has grown and perhaps changed, and how you all have created that rich life of Rebecca and Jack.
I mean, the first time we ever met in life was an audition chemistry read together where we were performing the opening scene. So she's incredibly pregnant and I was supposed to just be wearing a towel. But we're in an audition room and there I am kissing her neck and reciting these lines to a perfect stranger. And she got the role and I got the role. And we spoke after and we sat and had a meal and we were just kind of catching up and talking about what's to come. And what happened was we started this friendship where we were very communicative. We were very supportive. I remember saying to her, if you're not happy, I'm not happy. And there have been moments where she and I have been on set together and she has not been happy with the direction a scene is going, or I haven't been happy with the direction a scene is going. And this is, let's say, in rehearsals. But where we ultimately find ourselves is her saying, hey, Mai, what do you think? Or me saying, hey, man, what do you think? And we would always find our way together. And I think a lot of that was one, a dedication to this married couple that we both had, but also to, over time, you develop a trust. And Mandy has always been, for me, on that set, a very safe place. If I'm ever frustrated or if I'm ever unsure, I know I can go to my partner. I can have a conversation about things with her. I could check in with her, even if I'm the only one that's feeling a certain way. I'm like, hey, Mandy, tell me if I'm off, and she does the same with me, which is nice. I think it's rare that 2 people in the trade of acting can give so much of themselves to these characters and these roles, but Mandy has given me 100% of the time, and I give her exactly the same.
Jack is one of those characters, I think, that it's interesting because the show puts him a bit on a pedestal. Like his children always talk about what an amazing father he was. Rebecca always speaks of what an amazing husband he was, and the audience clearly just puts him on this even higher pedestal. But there are moments. I mean, you know, there's dealing with Jack's alcoholism. There's dealing with decisions that maybe people wouldn't agree with that he makes in terms of his brother and things like that. Does that part of it excite you as an actor to get to play those I don't even want to say darker, just other sides of less idealistic sides of Jack? Or was that ever like, oh man, what's the audience like how do you factor in what the audience is going to think, and how do you ignore that? Or is that 100% one? Is it 50-50?
You almost can't factor in what the audience is going to think. You just have to be true to the character. Really honest, really truthful to who this man is. There have been moments where I don't agree with his actions personally. I would have handled things differently, but I'm sure there's things, if he were real and he were looking at my life, he'd wonder why I made that decision. But Jack himself, I think in those complexities and in those complications of life, make him very human and make him very relatable. I think if he were too true, too perfect, he'd be unrealistic, he'd be unattainable. But I think because he has, and we see as an audience, moments where he is flawed, where he isn't making the right decisions, then I think we can actually aspire to be someone like him. That's what makes Jack attainable, are his flaws. Because otherwise, he's the impossible. But if we understand that we are going to have our shortcomings, we are going to make our mistakes, but we're going to do our best, and we're going to approach things from a place of goodness and with better intentions, then I think, you know, it'll serve those around us better. You know, Jack has hard shoes to fill, even for a guy like me who plays him. Because I think where you're saying people put him up on a pedestal, that transference kind of moves to me. And I'm like, wait. I'm just a guy playing a character, doing my best to make him real and make him inspirational to people. So, yeah, it's tough, but at the same time, I think it's wonderful to know that there's a fictional character like Jack out there, hopefully inspiring the real guys out there that have these golden hearts to send some good into the lives of the people around them.
After spending so many years getting to embody Jack, obviously there's so much of you in him, just because you're bringing him to life. Are there ways in which you feel like he has influenced you? Are there things that you've taken away from your This Is Us experience and playing Jack for so many years that you feel like is it a way that he walks, or is it a way that he says something, or are there things that you're like, oh wow, that was a Jack moment I just had? Or do you leave it all at the office?
I pretty much leave it all at the office. Jack, as wonderful as he is, I do my best to separate him from me. Even down to a cadence of speech, I feel like Jack has a way of speaking that is very character to me. Maybe a little subtle to other people, but to me, I feel like he's very much a character. I think if anything, Jack might have, I guess, hammered home a few ways that I live, in terms of just looking out for those around you, making sure people know that they're loved, making sure people know that they're supported, and just trying to be a good example of a good guy, which I think we definitely need. At the same time, being very masculine. You know, I think there's a lot going on in the identity of men these days, and making sure that we are getting away from a lot of toxicity, but it doesn't mean that we're any less of a masculine man than I think some of us were raised to be. So I think that example of Jack is good. But in my mind, there's a pretty clear distinction between myself and Jack. I think Jack is very much a product of when he was born in the 40s. I was born in the 70s. I'm more of a modern day guy, modern day middle-aged guy at this point. But yeah, I tend to just leave Jack on set as much as I can. Don't think I have many moments where I think, wow, I'm very much Jack. I mean, other than, walking around with a beard or walking around with a mustache or walking around with a goatee, depending on what we're filming.
Beyond the facial hair, obviously the show does a fantastic job of setting you all in those time settings. Tell us a little bit about what does the wardrobe and the set dressing and all of the props that you are surrounded by, how does that help you get into that time and place and character?
The hair, the makeup, the costumes, the set deck, the corduroy couches, everything that we put together for the eras that we bounce around on, a majority of the time are what I grew up in as a kid. So there's a lot of magic and nostalgia for me. Putting me right into that headspace is another thing. How I'm physically dressed as Jack, or how my hair and makeup is styled, that automatically snaps me right into where I need to be. Those are touchstones that I can play Jack. When I'm in just my mustache, I know he's in his mid 40s. I know he's got 8 to 15-year-old or 8 to 14-year-olds, and he's living a pretty good life. He's doing well in work. His marriage is great. Yes, he's got an alcohol problem on the rise, but he will deal with that when he hits goatee. But I think it's a great addition to what we all do as characters on the show, where we're able to bring these people to life. I think we're able to bring them to life because of the set decorations, because of the art direction, because of the hair, the makeup, the wardrobe departments. It just adds a magic and a nostalgia that is necessary when you're telling stories of characters in the past.
This is obviously, it's a job, but you all spend so much time and so much effort to emotionally connect to each other. What has it been like to know that that's coming to an end? You had the gift of knowing for a while that it was the end in ways that sometimes you don't get on a show. What has this process been like, this months long goodbye to each other, to Jack, to the show?
As I'm reading the scripts, I'm starting to see loops close and then just kind of be put away. Loop closes, gets put away. It's a very good place when you know you're given the runway to land the plane. And I'm grateful for it. I've also understood where, let's say, Jack started and where he kind of hit a high point in episode or seasons 3, and then season 4 he kind of moved into this place of being very supportive to other characters' storylines, where we weren't learning so much about Jack beyond that. It was just Jack's point of view in reference to Kevin, Kate, Randall, Rebecca. So I think as we are moving into the golden age, the golden years of the show, and knowing that we're going to be coming to an end of it, I think I very much have a sense of pride of what we've done, of the stories we've told, of the examples of relationships that we've had that hopefully, again, inspire people in real life to have further conversations with their loved ones, or be bold, or be good to themselves. And I'm very, I feel for the audience that is going to lose new episodes. I do. Knowing what the stories are going to be as we are getting closer to the end and seeing those loops close, they're very fulfilling, very full-hearted episodes, but I think they're going to be really emotional. I think people are going to have a lot to feel with regards to the closing chapters of the Pearson family.
I could ask so many more questions about This Is Us, but as we start to wrap this conversation up, I do want to broaden this, knowing that this is for SCAD and it's got students studying all different aspects of what it means to provide entertainment. I'd love to hear from you what you wish you would have known when you were first getting started in this industry. What would you say to young Milo who was starting out, in terms of a lesson you've learned or something that was validated that you already knew, but you're like, go with this with your full heart?
Don't let the business get in the way of your artistry. I think there's a lot of times where artistic endeavors will get overshadowed by business. When you're a young actor and you're hitting the pavement, you're just trying to get a job, and you do it over and 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 over again, and you get no, not looking for you. And then you get a little disheartened because all you want to do is be creative. So sometimes I think that business can wear down the artist, but you can't let it. You honestly can't let it. And I think you have to find creative outlets for your work so that you can hang on to that true heart of being an artist. So I think that's probably what I would convey to my younger self, or to younger artistic, creative, spaced, endeavored kids, students. Honestly, any age if you're going into the arts, don't let the business cloud up your artistic side.
It's beautiful. Something for all of us to keep in mind, no matter what the industry you get into. Well, yes. Like I said, I wish we had so much more time, but I truly appreciate the opportunity to get to chat with you today. Please, everyone, a big virtual round of applause for Milo. Please stick around following our discussion for a brief audience Q&A. But for now, thank you all at home for your participation, and enjoy the rest of SCAD TV Fest.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick. And thank you, Milo Ventimiglia, for joining us at SCAD and for TVfest 2022 as our Virtuoso Award honoree. I'm Mark Timshishin, the Chair of Performing Arts, and I have three amazing students here who have questions for you. So let's start with Sophia Maynette.
Hello, thank you so much for coming. So here's my question. You have been a part of so many incredibly successful television productions, from Jess and Gilmore Girls to Jack Pearson and This Is Us to Peter Petrelli and Heroes. What do you think creates a successful ensemble and that successful ensemble chemistry?
Oh boy, I don't know if there's a formula to create a successful ensemble, but I think what you can do is contribute to one. Mm-hmm. I came up in the theater. I did a lot of theater when I was younger. And I think everyone who does theater understands that you have to support the other performers that are on stage with you. When you're given a script in film or television and you see a big cast assembled and you start to see a bunch of names that you're a fan of populating that script, that story, that crew, I know that I get pretty excited about it. But more so, I think about, what can I do to make their performance better? What can I do to support them? What can I do to make sure they are armed with everything that they need to have a successful performance and a character that people can get behind and believe in and draw inspiration from? So I think for me, it comes down to my work is a piece of the machinery, but what I do feels so important to give to the person that I'm in an ensemble with. And that's pretty much what I do. One of the kids who plays one of my teens on This Is Us, he was having a bit of a struggle in this one scene. Really talented performer, but he was struggling. And I basically told him, I said, all you need to do is look me in the eye and listen to my words, and I'm not going to steer you wrong. I also told him I was there to make his performance better. It wasn't about what I was doing for me. It's about what I was doing for him. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing can apply to anyone in any mode of business that we find ourselves in a creative space. If we put our attention on making the person across from us better in the way that maybe they need it, then I think you're going to have a successful ensemble.
Thank you so much. That was awesome.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
So good. Thank you, Sophia. Next up, Bailey Asbury.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. So, my question is, you've directed 2 episodes of This Is Us. What did that preparation look like, and how did it inform your acting?
Funny enough, I've now directed 3 episodes of the show, but I started directing when I was 25 years old. I was doing interstitial campaigns and commercials for the WB network. So this is pre-CW. I had an opportunity to direct. I had always loved just walking around with the camera and finding framing and understanding composition and lighting and all of that. But when I started directing moving pictures, I found something even more fulfilling. And I don't know if it particularly informed my acting anymore, but I think it reaffirmed the way that I am on set. I'm a pretty technical actor. I understand the relationship between the camera and myself, as well as between myself and my co-stars that I share a stage or a set with. And I've always been very aware of those things. It's very much a dance. And when you're behind the lens, you're seeing it all unfold and you're kind of crossing every piece of yourself, hoping that it all works out in the choreography together. But beyond that, I think if you can speak simply, speak quickly, get people to understand what it is that you're looking for, that you are seeing behind the lens that others aren't seeing in front of it, it's all communication. Really what it comes down to, being on a TV set, being on a movie set, being on a stage, it's all a collaborative art. And I think if you can communicate and find those words to convey exactly what it is you're looking for as a director, it's going to simplify the process, and it's also going to make it more fun, because then you can just play creatively versus trying to find that language where you are working together, maybe butting heads versus actually coming up with the same creative vision. So I think, I'm not sure if that answered your question, Bailey, but I think that communication is a very big part of directing. It's a big part of being on a crew. Maybe just being kind.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
And last but not least, Adi Nathani.
Hi, my name is Adi Nathani. And I guess my question for you is, there are some actors who use their personal experiences in their life to bring to a scene. My question is, how do you approach a scene that you're using a sensitive part of your life into the scene? How do you approach a scene and be true to yourself and connect to the piece? And if you do use, I've learned about using your 5 senses, to ground yourself or to connect to the piece. How do you do that? I guess is how do you make that connection and make yourself present while somehow living in the past or using that?
It's funny. I think there's a lot of different schools of acting. There are. You got Meisner, you got Stella Adler, you've got Strasberg and method. There's so many different things. I've always found myself an amalgamation, just dirty Frankenstein mix of all of it. Mm-hmm. There are some pieces where you need to tap into something personal. I typically don't let people know what it is that I'm tapping into. It feels very private. The second that it gets out, or you open the door entirely and the light is completely in a dark room, then the magic of that is exposed. Right. So I try to keep personal effects that I'm using kind of in the basement. They're down there. It's almost like a piece of coal inside of something that's heating it up, kind of like a little pocket warmer or something. Keeps your pocket warm and it kind of moves through you, but at the same time, it's staying hidden. It's staying protected. Protected, right. I think is the word that I'm more comfortable saying. Not hidden, just protected. I think there is a lot of preparation that you have to have when you're performing, let's just say something delicate or something sensitive or something personal. But one thing you can't have are plans. Because if you're planning to do something, you're up here. If you're preparing, you're right here. You're in your heart space. You're figuring something out. You're actually truly living an emotion, either on camera or on stage. And I think that using and tapping into your own experiences may potentially limit you. I know a lot of people, a lot of actors think that you have to have lived through an experience to be able to convey it and portray it successfully. I don't think that's the case. I don't need to have done drugs to play a drug addict.
Right.
You just have to use your imagination and study. You don't have to have taken a life to play a killer. You have to use your imagination, and you have to understand it intellectually. But I think connecting it to your heart is a whole other thing. You have to believe the words you're saying as a character. You have to truly, truly, truly believe in what you're saying, good or bad. And I've played both. Sometimes I've been the good guy. Sometimes I've been the really worst, horrible guy. But you have to put almost a sense of love into either character. I had a professor when I was in school, when I was studying in college at UCLA, who said to me, put love into every character you play. It doesn't matter if they're the most deplorable or if they're the most heroic. I think if you put some kind of love into what you're playing and what you're portraying, I think you're always going to be successful. And let your imagination run wild. You know, my mother said to me one time, I played a really horrible character. She said, you must have experienced something when you were younger. How can you play someone that evil? I said, no, Mom, that's just my job. It's my imagination. And I think if you can put belief while the cameras are rolling, and only while they're rolling, behind what that imagination is, it's always going to serve your performance. It's always going to serve your performance. I like to believe that the characters that I play are alive between action and cut. And then I get back to myself, and then on me. And kind of what Milo was saying, you know, I consider myself a bit of a blank slate. I do that, but I do that in the service of the characters that I play. So
thank you. That was awesome.
Yeah, you got it, Adi.
Thank you, Sophia, Bailey, and Adi. And thank you, Milo. Standing invitation. Come visit us here whenever you get the chance.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Milo, on your Virtuoso Award. And thank you for being here on closing night. And to all of you watching from home, on behalf of everyone at SCAD TVfest, we hope you've had an incredible 3 days, learned a lot, discovered new series, and celebrated the ones that you've loved for years. And we will see you next year.